play it any louder, then it's getting shut down.
My name is Waffles, and I'm a government whistleblower turned political commentator, and this is the last 24 hours in the news. Today is December 24th, 2025. It is 5:17 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Here are the top U.S. news highlights for the past 24 hours. Supreme Court blocks Trump's National Guard deployment attempt. The U.S. Supreme Court temporarily blocked President Trump's attempt to deploy National Guard troops to the Chicago area, upholding a lower court injunction that found no legal basis for the domestic deployment. Justice Thomas Gorsuch and Alito dissented, but the majority reinforced limits on presidential authority to use military forces against civilians in domestic contexts. Still fighting with this respiratory illness. Visa bans on European figures sparked diplomatic backlash. The Trump administration imposed visa bans on 5 prominent European officials and activists, accusing them of involvement in extraterritorial censorship related to foreign regulation of U.S. tech platforms. Critics decried the action as politically motivated and potentially abusive of visa policy for ideological ends. New details on DOJ's release of Epstein documents, continuing delays. Congressional and legal pressure is building as the Justice Department delays completion of all Epstein-related document releases, with lawmakers indicating more oversight and potential legal action if deadlines aren't met, an ongoing civil rights and transparency fight. Federal suits over immigration and homelessness funding. Recent Reuters reporting noted that federal courts have blocked administration attempts to restructure homelessness funding and that legal challenges continue on immigration policy fronts, though these may not have a fresh ruling today. Crime, extremism, and civil risk. National Guard shooter faces new federal charges with possible death penalty in the high-profile November 26 ambush near the White House that killed a National Guard member and injured another. Federal prosecutors have enhanced charges, allowing for a potential death penalty discussion. The suspect, an Afghan refugee, has pleaded not guilty. The case continues to spotlight threats against federal personnel and civil risk. Murder charge in cold-blooded killing of a child. A California woman was charged with first-degree murder in the shooting death of her 9-year-old daughter, a case described by authorities as intentional and calculated as part of a national multi-state evasion. A shocking violent crime highlighted locally today. Trump credits tariffs for growth amid consumer confidence slide. President Trump claimed that his tariff policies are behind unexpectedly strong GDP figures, even as U.S. consumer confidence fell for the 5th straight month. This contrast underscores the tension between macroeconomic announcements and the everyday economic experience. Democrats urge reversal of ambassador recall policy. Democratic lawmakers are calling on the administration to reverse its mass recall of U.S. ambassadors, a move seen as weakening diplomatic influence and risk to U.S. global standing. Judge rejects a business group challenge to Trump H-1B fee policy. A federal judge rejected a challenge from a business group to the administration's $100,000 fee on new H-1B visa applications, preserving the policy that critics say will worsen U.S. talent shortages and raise costs for industries reliant on skilled immigrants. Delayed Epstein documents release affecting institutional accountability beyond legal fights. The ongoing delay in releasing all Epstein files raises consumer and infrastructure risks in legal transparency and public trust in government institutions, with legislative action likely. Travel and transport impacts from severe weather reported locally. Major weather systems have forced flight delays and warnings across the West Coast, disrupting holiday travel and infrastructure operations. Consumer sentiment as economic risk factor. Ongoing reporting highlights a persistent drop in consumer confidence, which can presage a softer spending and rising financial insecurity, a public health concern tied to economic stress. Visa bans on European figures strain U.S.-EU ties. The visa sanctions against European regulators and activists over speech and tech policy have drawn swift criticism from European counterparts and could affect U.S.-EU diplomatic and economic cooperation. Democrats oppose ambassador recall list. Potential diplomatic gap. Pressure continues on the administration regarding recalls of U.S. ambassadors to key African and European posts, with critics warning this weekend's U.S. diplomatic reach and influence globally. Enhanced charges in guard shooting case. We already went over that. GDP growth assertion amid consumer confidence decline. President Trump's linking of tariffs to economic growth while consumer confidence hits multi-month lows continues to fuel debate over economic messaging and real-world economic experience. EU and allies condemn U.S. visa bans on Europeans. European Union nations, including France and Germany, publicly criticized the Trump administration's visa bans on 5 European figures accused of censorship enforcement, framing it as diplomatic break with longtime allies. This underscores rising tension with key partners over U.S. unilateral policy moves. This is in regards to the European Union putting restrictions on X, formerly known as Twitter. This reflects international political blowback to a domestic executive policy that had a lower visibility but growing diplomatic risk. Broad DOJ suit against Illinois restricting immigration arrests. The Justice Department sued Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker over state laws that limit immigration arrests at universities, hospitals, and courthouses, amplifying federal-state conflict over enforcement and civil liberties. This kind of federal challenge affects immigrant rights, state autonomy, and law enforcement authority. Federal judge orders restoration of disaster aid. A federal judge ruled that the Trump administration must restore disaster aid to 12 states that were penalized for not cooperating with federal immigration enforcement, a blow to punitive funding tactic. It curbs the administration's use of budget tools to pressure states, a governance and public safety win for affected citizens. VA abortion care ban for veterans. The Trump administration issued a new policy banning abortion care for veterans, including in cases of rape, incest, and medical threat. A broad rollback of prior protections. This marks a major policy shift affecting healthcare access for a defined population with civil rights and public health implications. Wage garnishment for defaulted student loans. The U.S. Education Department will resume wage garnishments starting in January 2026 for defaulted federal student loan borrowers, affecting millions and reflecting aggressive debt collection tactics. This has wide economic and consumer impact, particularly for low and middle income houses. Ongoing DOJ struggles. Epstein files backlash. The Justice Department is under renewed political scrutiny for its ongoing release of Epstein-related documents after deadlines passed, with lawmakers contemplating oversight or legal consequences for noncompliance. This is a significant transparency and legal accountability battle with political and civil rights stakes. Trump administration's anti-DEI campaign hits legal hurdles. The administration's push against corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion programs through the EEOC is facing significant legal obstacles, with experts noting that proving unlawful discrimination is legally difficult. This represents an ongoing institutional policy fight with implications for corporate governance and protected classes. Consumer confidence declined despite growth claims. Recent data show consumer confidence hit a fresh multi-month low, even as the administration touted GDP growth, highlighting a disconnect between headline growth figures and lived economic conditions. I covered this yesterday as to why it is that the GDP information that is being touted by the administration right now could be misleading. And it is because of the way that GDP is calculated in regards to including the trade deficit, which is imports coming into the United States. So if there's low imports, which there is right now, that is not necessarily a good thing, because the United States has been for a while now an import-driven economy. So while this administration is out here touting GDP like something great is happening, The imports numbers, which, we're seeing low imports right now because of Donald Trump's tariffs, and this has been a import-driven economy for a while now. Because of the fact that imports are calculated into those GDP numbers. And the trade deficit is counted into those GDP numbers, which if the trade deficit is decreasing, that's a bad sign for the United States economy as it stands right now. It is going to make GDP look good when that is not necessarily the case. It does not mean that the economy is thriving. It does not mean that things are going well. The only things that are performing in the United States economy right now is AI, tech, and weapons. And that is why consumer sentiment is down. Everybody's bracing, holding onto their seats right now, waiting to see what is going to happen with all of this tariff shit. People are stockpiling and preparing for a collapse. Because the only parts of the economy that are performing right now is weapons and tech. This is an underreported economic indicator pointing to real-world strain on households. Rise in violence against journalists highlighted contextual. A report highlighted a significant increase in physical attacks on journalists in 2025, though not a single new headline today. This ongoing trend underscores civil risk for press freedoms and public accountability. Press safety intersects with civil risk and civic society strength. Operation Angel's Honor. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem announced today that 17,500 criminal illegal aliens have been arrested and detained under the Laken-Riley Act. This follows a 14-day intensive surge in targeting individuals accused of crimes ranging from theft to assault. Federal mobilization in New Orleans. Federal forces, including National Guard and deputized federal agents, have moved into New Orleans this month. This follows similar deployments in Chicago and Los Angeles throughout late 2025, which the administration frames as training grounds for the war from within. You don't fucking declare war on your own people. That's treason. Hate crime conviction. A Washington man pleaded guilty yesterday to a federal hate crime for stabbing a Metro bus passenger based on the victim's race, highlighting ongoing domestic extremist risks. Federal AI preemption. On December 11th, the president issued an executive order to centralize artificial intelligence policy, mobilizing the DOJ to challenge onerous state AI laws. The order threatens to condition federal broadband funding on states' compliance with federal AI standards to prevent woke AI. You want to tell us what woke is? If the administration wants to make all these claims that woke is such a fucking problem, I think they ought to define the word. Outbound investment security. Congress finalized the 2026 NDAA, expanding restrictions on U.S. investment into countries of concern, now including Russia, Venezuela, and Cuba alongside China. The bill targets high-performance computing and hypersonic systems. Federal holiday miracle. President Trump signed an executive order granting all federal employees the entire 5-day weekend off December 24th through 26th, a move that some critics describe as a populistic tactic to boost loyalty amidst ongoing civil service restructuring. Space Superiority Order. A new executive order revokes the National Space Council and directs NASA to overhaul acquisition processes. Notably, it eliminates the requirement that specific traffic data, tracking debris, and satellites, for example, be provided for free, potentially shifting costs to commercial operators. Housing algorithmic suit. The DOJ reached a proposed consent decree with LivCor, L-I-V-C-O-R, one of the nation's largest landlords, to resolve claims that the companies used algorithmic coordination to artificially inflate rents. There's somebody we ought to consider putting under the microscope right now. Measles Outbreak Watch. Massachusetts health officials issued an alert today regarding measles exposure from An out-of-state visitor to Boston. No confirmed cases have been recorded in the state yet for 2025, but officials are urging vaccination. Let's hope to God people from Texas don't infect the whole United States right now. Bilateral health diplomacy. The U.S. signed a $1.466 billion health health MOU with Ethiopia under the America First Global Health Strategy. Funding for HIV and AIDS and polio is now tied to performance incentives. If health outcomes aren't met, funding will be cut. Ukraine peace plan reporting indicates the U.S. and Ukraine are edging closer to a joint plan to end the war, though Moscow's response remains uncertain, and the Kremlin has criticized European attempts to amend the proposal. There was something shady going on in the region. Donald Trump is involved. I'm pretty sure, like Trump is involved with telling another country that has been providing arsenal to Ukraine to pull their weapons funding from Ukraine right now. So while things may look good on the outside, Donald Trump is sneakily trying to help Russia invade Ukraine. Ukraine just lost territories today, it sounds like. And Donald Trump is actively trying to see to it that European nations providing arsenal to Ukraine are not doing so anymore. So while it is that there's talk about Donald Trump and supposedly some sort of peace agreement going on right now, that is something that came up, I think, yesterday. Venezuela naval seizures. Footage surfaced yesterday of U.S. forces seizing a second oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles suggested the goal is to keep blowing boats up until the Maduro regime yields. Stop killing citizens, please. The naughty list. In a highly controversial move, I see my own face while I'm doing that. In a highly controversial move, the White House website recently featured a lo-fi criminal illegal alien naughty list. It pisses me off because, this whole shit with this bitch, I'm not polite in my wording. Joni Ernst. I'm a government whistleblower. And I spent the last 3 years tailing these motherfuckers and what they were doing to dismantle our government. And Joni List came out with a naughty list a while ago, talking about all of the federal agencies that they were dismantling. She literally provided a list of where the fraud was taking place and gave me a lead to write an entire fucking book about racketeering and money laundering inside of the United States government, being spearheaded by MAGA. So when I hear naughty list, and I see that they're doing this again, oh, look, it's pointing right to whatever crime they're fucking committing, I'm sure of that, but my God, their use of language is just ridiculous. Everything they do is ridiculous. I hate everything they do, and it just kind of it's like stepping on a goat head for me to see this going on. A lo-fi criminal illegal alien naughty list. As part of its Christmas-themed executive orders, a tone shift that... Sorry, dude. Yeah, so the naughty list by Joni Ernst was no-show federal agencies, and that was not the case. I worked there, and what I saw was that we were being taught, we were being instructed to not assist people. And the result of us not assisting people at the Department of Labor was resulting in people having to file bankruptcy and sell their vehicles and shit. So, alright, serious face. Gotta report the news. The naughty list. In a highly controversial move, the White House website recently featured a lo-fi criminal alien naughty list as part of its Christmas-themed executive orders. What the fuck, dude? I mean, Christmas-themed executive orders? Are you fucking kidding me? How much crack are these people smoking? I mean, is Trump just higher than a fucking kite or what? Is he being drugged? Christmas-themed executive orders, eh? Really? A tone shift that has been described by human rights groups as dehumanizing and inappropriate for official government communications. Human rights groups described the use of Christmas tropes to mock and identify deportees as profoundly inappropriate and dehumanizing. Alright, we got more of this shit. Enemy within rhetoric. During a cabinet meeting recently made public, the president reiterated his right to do anything I want. Regarding domestic military use, specifically targeting Democratic-led cities he deems in danger. Kennedy Declaration lawsuit. California Attorney General Rob Bonta led a coalition of 18 states in filing a lawsuit against HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over a new declaration that labels gender-affirming care as failing to meet professional standards. The suit alleges the declaration is an unlawful attempt to bully hospitals into stopping care by threatening their Medicare and Medicaid eligibility. Contempt warning over deportations. A federal judge overnight threatened the administration with civil contempt for ignoring orders to pause certain deportation flights. The court specifically cited and forced the removal of 100 Venezuelans to El Salvador under the Alien Enemies Act in defiance of a temporary restraining order. I want to hit pause and rewind real quick. And I just got something I want to say about the transgender thing. God, this cold is brutal. Hold up. So, my personal opinion on this transgender thing is that there is likely a significant amount of people who may be under hormonal therapy right now. Whether I agree with it or not, whether their personal views align with mine or not, to have a realistic perspective, I am not okay with watching this administration just jump the gun and literally do harm to people and kill people. They've been killing people. They've been killing a lot of people. We should all be concerned about public safety and paying attention to what is going on around us because of the fact that they've been killing a lot of people. And I'm an American, and we're all Americans. I would assume most of my audience. So this killing of people all over the place is, I find, concerning. And for me personally, when it comes to things like the economy, suddenly trying to make the United States overnight turn into a export-driven economy versus an import-driven economy. Think of that you're going to flip a switch and suddenly change the economy, and then all of a sudden what happens is everybody's standing around in the dust like, what the fuck just happened? What do I do with my business assets? And how long am I going to be able to be in business? Where the fuck am I going to get materials? How is everybody else coping? Standing in the dust wondering how the fuck we're even going to function. If you wanted to make this an export-driven economy, which our continent is not massively huge, and we have some of the most biological diversity of animal wildlife on the planet here as well that we need to preserve. It's not something that can happen overnight. And from a rational standpoint, if we wanted to change the United States into an export-driven economy, which I'm neutral on, I think we should be kind of like half and half. I support world trade. I like eating chocolate. I enjoy coffee. I don't want everything that I consume to be coming from the United States, okay? That sounds like going from, cool life to lame-ass shit. So I do support international trade. This is something that I've heard MAGA trying to argue against. So I'm going to say that. I don't support isolationism. I think that's fucking retarded, and I think that's a real good way to make sure that people don't have medicine and a lot of people die. And I'm wondering why this administration is trying to kill so many people. And oh my god, dude. Alright, I'm fixing to go on a tangent. I am going to express my own personal opinion on gays and transgender. And I'm going to attempt to do so delicately. If it does harm to people, I don't think that the administration should be doing it. Okay? And just like with the economy, it would be better for the president to engage if he wants to change the United States, rationally speaking. If he wanted to change the United States into an export-driven economy, we would need infrastructure projects to make sure that the resources are available for the businesses that are already trading in a large amount of certain goods, like steel, aluminum, etc. A significant amount of our food is coming from other places just because those other places have awesome shit like bananas, oranges, apples, closer to the equator. So there are different parts of the world that are good for different things, first of all. So I support international trade. I do think that we should not have our economy so overly invested in international trade that it could become a national security risk. I do agree with the idea that China is kind of monopolizing the global market, but I also want to remind everybody that China has a population of 4 billion people that they need to keep housed and fed with toilets to flush. And when I see what is going on with Chinese infrastructure, granted, they got bad smog out there that they need to take care of, and they need to restore their environment, which they've actually been working on doing. And I'm not like pro-China either. I just like to try and look at things from a logical standpoint. They're much more technologically advanced. And the citizens, to me, certainly appear to have more amenities than Americans. And America is the richest country in the world with only a population of 350 million. So I think that we've got a really serious problem here if we're all broke as fuck and living like fucking monkeys in the Stone Age while China's like kicking it and everybody has their basic fucking needs met as far as like being able to have access to food and shelter and medical care. So what we're doing here in the United States just ain't working, first of all. Other than that, the whole gay thing, alright, I got no problem with gay people. What I got a problem with is when somebody uses that identity as a social weapon. And I'm not trying to be an asshole, but there are certain people that just like, it's like, okay, dude, I don't give a fuck if you're gay or not. Like, okay, I get it, you're gay. I think that, like, knowing this so that I can, like, understand your personality and stuff can be helpful. But when it becomes your whole identity to an extent where it's, like, being shoved in people's faces, like, it's just kind of socially, like, in my opinion, just kind of rude. And I've met a lot of people that are not like that. I do not support transgender, gender-affirming care for minors. Personally, I do not support that because the human brain is not fully developed until the age of 25, and with physical changes being made to the body, like, I am concerned about the repercussions of that for young children who could later in life wind up having a trauma experience and not be okay with what was done to them by their parents. Because that's how I would perceive it if I was a young person and I went through that and wanted to go back to normal and couldn't. If I was in adulthood. So I would say that, like, out of respect for the young people, that because there have been people who have decided that they don't want to be that way. And I also think that some of the problem with the transgender stuff is that we have societal norms that are not necessarily healthy for the psychological well-being of the person, the individual themselves. For me, as a female, look, I'm not happy to be born a woman in America. I'll say that much. This shit sucks, guys. This is just... There's like all these motherfuckers trying to steal shit from you and fuck you over, and everybody thinks you're retarded and you're smarter than them. Like, look at the educational statistics on the women right now. We should be leading the economy. But I'm just saying, everybody thinks you're retarded, and it's just like you're looking at this dumb fucking monkey that's like whining over some ridiculous shit, and it's like, you got no fucking idea what difficulty is, dude. You're on difficulty level number 1. Quit bitching. So I don't enjoy being a woman. I don't enjoy dealing with income disparity. I work hard for my money. I spent 10 years working in construction and got fucked over out of my industry, and I'm broke as fuck. And it's because of these fucking whiny ass, entitled ass fucking incel men. I'm not blaming all men. I said 10 years working in construction. I'm just going on a fucking tangent. 10 years working in construction, I would say the vast majority, like, there will be one incel asshole piece of shit out of like every 20 men on a job site. That's what I would say. There would be that many, but it's like when the rest of the men who understand, like, this person's just trying to work and we're all homies trying to kick it on the job site, you know. When the fucking fruitcake ass motherfucker that leans on a shovel all day and wants to whine about his job is starting shit, none of the rest of the people speak up, you know, like, they're just like, let this motherfucker fucking push me out of my job, because one of the two things is going to happen, like, we're going to get in a fight, or somebody's going to get terminated. And I'm finding that my protections as a woman in the trades and stuff, like my legal protections from whiny ass fucking incel men, are being stripped from me. And, like, I'm going to get fired anyways, right? This motherfucker's going to start shit with me. I'm going to get fired anyways. It don't matter what I do. Like, HR don't want to figure out how to deal with the problem, but this is what I've been doing for a living. And, like, the asshole whiny man bitch is not an asset to the company. Like, you would be better off getting rid of the incel and just, like, keeping the normal fucking worker and having harmony in the workplace. That's my opinion. So, I have had to come to acceptance of the things that I don't like about myself and the things that I don't like about the world. And so I'm out here speaking up and representing myself, because I'm the only one that can do that. Talking about what matters to me and seeking to make things more important. I just don't like, okay, when I was a kid, the Barbie dolls, alright, you know what I would do with them? I'll rip their head off and make a fucking necklace out of it, alright? I had like voodoo necklace fucking Barbie doll heads, bro. So I don't appreciate all these things, and I enjoy normal life. I like to be outside. I like to be with the animals. I like getting some fresh air when I'm working. So then I would say the gender roles in a country that's only 250 years old. Okay, you got, if the average person lives to be 70, that's like 3 or 4 lifetimes. That's only 3 or 4 generations of people been here. This place is a joke, okay? America's a joke. Alright? We're very undeveloped, and the people kind of, I don't know, the shit that I'm seeing lately seems like barbarism, just like dumb fucking monkey shit. Like, goddamn, dude, on the world stage, we are not presenting ourselves as a nation right now as civilized. But I don't agree with the social roles, because I know my own circumstances. I have lived in my own circumstances, and right now what this society is trying to do for me and my future and my ability to function is to make things goddamn fucking impossible. Well, as a human being, I have the will to survive, and I will defend myself. And unfortunately, for those who have not lived my life or experienced my life, those people don't understand what I'm going through or know what my experience is. And so they're in no place to dictate to me how it is that I go about my survival. And I think that if somebody is not doing harm to other people, they should be allowed to exist. Alright, it has been scientifically shown that people with the more kids they have, like there's certain chromosomes that don't pass on as strongly, like it degrades in strength as more children are born. And so then boys down the line, the youngest child, if you have like 5 kids or whatever, could be a little bit more feminine. But a lot of this stuff that you're trying to teach us, like, dude, fuck Barbie dolls, okay? I don't like Barbie dolls. What I think is funny is, like, these MAGA men that, they act like they hate women so much. Just, like, your general lack of understanding of the world around you is a problem. And it's like, these dudes are like, oh, we like tough women, blah, 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 blah. But the women that they're creating with the social dogma that they're trying to push upon the world is, like, the opposite of what they want. And then they bitch about it. So I don't like the gender roles that we have going on in society, because it's like as a child I could have been learning more skills instead of being handed Barbie dolls that I ripped the head off of and put on a fucking necklace. Alright, I could have been like, excuse me, I could have been learning how to fix vehicles or build things and learn life skills. But my parents were just fucking MIA anyways, so, but yeah, you know, we're all just people out here, and there's a scientific basis stating that, you know, there's genetic reasons why somebody may become a little bit more effeminate, but other than that, like, painting yourself and decorating yourself and just enjoying being cool looking in whatever way you see as fun, dude, that's fucking 2025, alright? We got fucking this fancy ass shit that you could paint all over your face, and I understand that too. And like a lot of little boys I seen want to paint their nails or whatever. Like, who cares? Okay? Let people be who they're gonna be. And I think that all this hatred towards people choosing to be the way that they want to be, is not productive. And so I think that part of the transgender debate, I do think that if people were not being oppressed so much and motherfuckers would learn how to just leave somebody else alone and not fuck with other people and be disrespectful, that things would be going a lot better. Like, I don't like the fact that I was born into the role that I got born into in this society, and I disagree with the standards of this society, because I think that this society is not looking at what is actually going on. I think that this society is being dishonest with itself and how it attempts to approach solutions to problems. And I think that we ought to be doing our decision making based on rational decisions, because if you're going to make it impossible for me to survive, I have the will to live, I'll just fight you back. Like, you fight me, I fight you, and that's the situation that you create when you want to act like a fucking dumbass. So then, for the transgender people, I personally don't believe that young people should be forced into a situation where they may not be able to change things that were done to them physically, technically, by an adult later in life when they're more mature and of understanding. Let those decisions be made later in life, because hormonal therapy can cause some problems. But at the same time, I would say that if there are people who are going through hormonal therapy right now, and Donald Trump is going to swing down the hammer and cut them off from access to their medication all of a sudden, those people are going to be forced to physically suffer. So just like we should have a plan with, you know, infrastructure and figuring out a way to ease into changes rather than just harming a bunch of people, which, if that is what is happening, we should all be paying attention and be very concerned about our own safety and welfare in the middle of all of it. If they want to change the laws and how things are covered, they should give those people a grace period where they are able to at least wean off of their medications. If anything, just some basic fucking decency. And I just think it's a clear reflection of the absolute lack of consideration that this administration has for the impacts that it is having on other people. And just a clear example of the fact that this administration is deliberately trying to harm, hurt, and physically do damage to individuals of the United States, civilians of the United States, engaging in acts of harm towards the people of the United States, deploying the military on the people of the United States, engaging in acts of warfare against the people of the United States. People are dying right now. They're being experimented on, and they're being kidnapped. We should do better. So that's what I think about the whole transgender issue. I may not personally necessarily understand what is going on with a different demographic of people. And just as I tell everybody I'm involved in when it comes to organizing and having conversations and making decisions, what you do when you're doing stuff in regards to politics can affect people for a long time. And it can do harm to innocent individuals years down the line if you do not have your mind right and are not making rational decisions and pulling your fucking ego out of what it is that you're doing. You need to have honesty and integrity within yourself when you make decisions in regards to what happens to the public. Or else innocent children and innocent people can get hurt due to your own recklessness. And that's how I feel about politics and political decisions. And when I get involved with groups and organizations, I want to see that the leaders in those groups have their mind in that place. So when it comes to the gay community, you know, I'm in activism, I do the news, I'm like, who am I going to, you know, give a platform to? Who am I going to listen to? Who matters to me? And it's like I come across the gay community and I'm like, I don't really know anything about these people. You know, I'm not involved in this demographic, but why are they out here involved in the activism stuff? And it's like, I go over there and see what it is that these people are expressing concerns about, and it's that they have been targeted in acts of violence, and they want the violence to stop. And I think that anybody should be free to not be subjected to violence. And I think that if somebody's gay, then they're just gay. I'm sorry, but like, to be realistic with you guys, like, I understand that a lot of people have fun talking about these kinds of subject matters and stuff, being an asshole because they enjoy misusing language. But at the same time, you know, when you do that kind of shit, it can have a bad impact on the people around you. And there are people out here who are legitimately trying to harm innocent individuals. And those people are fucked up, and at no point in time will I ever express any form of support for individuals that seek to harm innocent people. I don't give a fuck who you are. So, then yeah, like, when I look at what these people are concerned about, and then I see, like, that there's been attacks, like, I've witnessed some of this stuff play out in the news and stuff, then yeah, I will platform the gay people. Because they have been subjected to acts of violence and have a real reason to be concerned about their safety and their well-being, and they deserve a voice just like anybody else. And so that is my opinion on that shit. I think that some people need to work on how they present themselves, like, from that community. Just like when you're hanging out with people, it don't look good when you're acting like an asshole over your identity stuff. Yeah, that's my opinion on all of that. I'm not about harming other people, and I just personally, I'm a person that enjoys logic and reason, and I just don't understand why we gotta do shit like we're fucking retarded. And I think that the people who are throwing fits right now, trying to steal from everybody else to do whatever the hell they're gonna do, which is primarily like the elites, but I will say also the Caucasian male incel fuckers. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're trying to harm other people. If that's the way that you gotta survive, you suck at life. That's just my opinion. So, there's my thoughts on transgender and how to handle certain things, and what I think about how this administration's handling things in my own perspective. Like, you're gonna fuck with somebody that you don't understand, and you don't know what their life is like, and you're not gonna allow their input, then what you're gonna wind up with is somebody that's gonna fight you back for trying to harm them. So anyways, there's a lot that I could say on this subject matter. Obviously, I'm going on a tangent here. But I will say this. Disrupting the natural order is not going to play out well for anybody. And what I do know is, like, with women, because I am one, so I like have information on this, you know, because I understand my own existence on this earth. The reason why women are backlashing right now, the reason why they're fighting back is because they're fucking miserable, okay? And it's because of all this bullshit that we gotta, like we're watching these motherfuckers, they got life on easy mode, and they're whining and shit about the most ridiculous crap, and it's like, dude, you're on difficulty level number 1, quit bitching, first of all. But on top of that, like, this is not the natural human condition, and, like, for me, myself, like, my survival is being made impossible. And I will defend myself because I am a human being. And I think it's just so funny to watch MAGA. They'll be like, oh, we like tomboy type chicks. So they're like making the women all fucking subversive and boring and stupid and shit, and you know, that's what they want around them, and then they bitch because of what they want around them, like what they're creating. Like, what do you want? First of all, so I don't think like blue collar men are very happy, and I think it's their own fault. Other than that, like, I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in playing with Barbie dolls. I do like cooking good food, and I think that men should know how to cook good food. I think that people that care about themselves ought to take good care of themselves, keep their home clean, and feed themselves well, and take care of their health. And I think that is self-respect. Regardless of your gender, if you're just living like a slob and fucking wallowing in your own garbage, your own filth and shit, like, I think that that's a clear sign of mental disorder. And I think that people who live that way are probably depressed. And I think it's sad, but I don't think that having self-respect is a gender issue. My point is this. There is a natural order, okay? Patriarchy is not something that really became an issue until later in human society. It is actually a newer phenomenon, and we are not meant to live this way. The women have really serious psychological disorders that they're having to deal with from being repeatedly traumatized, because what is happening is the men just keep coming around and they keep trying to steal from the women and take everything from the women. And then for me, from my own perspective, being a woman, I see all these women dropping dead, and I'm like, First of all. And then I'm like, these motherfuckers are making it so I can't have a roof over my head and shit. Like, this is some psychotic, scary shit. This is not a functional society. And us women are human beings too. And that's part of the reason why we have a system of law and why we have these social welfare programs. And we're like half of the fucking population. And we are human beings. We are the same species. And we're actually the more better educated that you should be listening to and taking advice from it so that things can improve. The modern American man, these incels, not all men, like I said, it's like 1 out of every 20, but enough to be a significant portion of the population to be a problem. They're out of touch with reality, and they're whiny as fuck, and I would say that the same thing comes along with aristocracy. People in privilege live in an isolated reality where they're not seeing what's actually going on around them, and so the decisions that they make are not going to be effective or useful because they're living in a distorted world where they're not being exposed to reality. But any living creature is going to seek for its own survival. And the population in America is only 350 million. It would actually be a very easy country to overthrow in comparison. You know, if China and India were to team up, they could just fucking blow this place straight out of the water. 4 billion plus 4 billion, that's 8 billion versus 350 million. American society is not hot shit. The Americans have pissed off a lot of people, engaging in constant warfare and acts of brutality across the globe and literally robbing the planet blind. There's no reason why we should be living in the richest country in the world with only a population of 350 million. And I think that puts a target on our backs. We are all here. And if we're going to be tearing ourselves apart internally and fighting with each other and allowing acts of atrocities to happen when the president is painting a big old target on the back of America for the rest of the world to have good enough reason to attack, the world population is the biggest it's ever been. This is not 1776. That time is over. It is gone. Okay? We're not a bunch of Neanderthals getting off of boats spreading the plague. Let's stop trying to be those people. It's time to wake up. Like, if you're going to fight with, you know, the only thing that you're doing is you're making the society unstable. The American population is nothing like what it was in 1776. I mean, these people act like they want to go back to 1776 or something. They've been putting it on all their shirts and shit. I don't understand that. I took American history, dude. The people that came over here on boats were fucking Neanderthals. Simply put, if you are going to deliberately try to harm groups of people, those groups of people are going to stand up for themselves, they're going to defend themselves, and they're not just going to tolerate it. And then what you're creating for yourself is a society that's just unstable around you, where you need to worry about your own safety so we can all get along, or we can fight with each other, and it's going to be uncomfortable for everybody and unsafe for everybody. So in law, I think this is interesting. There's philosophies of law, and Donald Trump thinks that he's somehow the master of law. Natural order in legal principles refers to an inherent objective moral framework derived from nature, reason, and divine source, existing independently of human-made laws. It emphasizes universal, immutable principles of right and wrong, such as justice, human flourishing, and self-evident rights. Natural order is a consensus-independent normative order woven into the universe. It is often described as God-given or derived from the rational structure of the cosmos. Universe. Oh God, that is the definition here is not sounding so great. Essentially, this principle of law, the philosophy of law, natural order being the decision maker, you can fight with reality all you fucking want. But if you're not going to accept reality, then you're just going to wind up with a fight right back. And I stand by that. Like, the world is the way it is, and if you want to fight it, then, deal with the consequences of fighting it, because this world was here millions of years before you were born and will continue to exist after you are dead. It doesn't give a fuck about you and your ego and whatever is happening in your head. And if we're going to make effective decisions, we need to be doing so on a rational basis based on what's actually going on. And I will say that, like, right now we got all these men whining about a loneliness epidemic. I'm not like a sexist, but I am a feminist in that I do believe in my own rights, because I'm not a fucking moron. And I don't think that it's all men. I do think that it is the majority population of men in the United States that have been indoctrinated to believe things that are not true, and as a result have wound up with a distortive perspective on reality that is not being fruitful towards, it's not helping them. You want to talk about a loneliness epidemic? Well, I mean, yeah, you can want the world to be the way that you want it to be as much as possible, but that's not going to change the natural order of how things actually are. Women make up half of the population. Functional societies, prior to us being crammed into these hierarchies of mass civilization, the terms under which we evolved as a species under is cooperation. Not destruction and hatred of the other, and like if you're just gonna kill all the women and shit, then you're gonna wind up with no women. Obviously, y'all can see women don't want nothing to do with you right now. No offense, but I'm pretty sure that the women's campaigns are out in the open and clearly visible. And there's a reason for that. Our survival is being threatened by people who don't even know what's going on around them, with a serious lack of education and lack of understanding of what is going on around them. You can fight that all you want. But at the end of the day, this world has been here for how long? And you only live for how long? So thinking that your ego ought to be the determinant of things, I mean, I feel like that's just leading yourself to failure. I think that a large amount of us regular people, and when I talk about regular people, I mean not just here in the United States, but across the world, because y'all motherfuckers look like you're trying to start a fight with the whole fucking world. A lot of us don't think that the world needs to kowtow to your ego, and if you don't have your ego in check, and you have no self-control over your own fucking behavior, and you think you need to be aggressive towards others, you will be met with resistance. It's just natural order. It's just the way it's going to happen, and the vast majority of the world don't agree with your perspective. Other than that, it's against the human condition. Like, people, like, loneliness and isolation causes people to die sooner. And I also think that that's part of how Donald Trump lured all these people in, because they're desperate and lonely. And so they're trying to fit into some sort of social dogma to feel like they belong into some sort of group to fulfill what is actually a biological need, because that's how human beings are wired. We're wired to be social. But we've had this ongoing years of people acting asinine. And when people see that you are living inside of your own ego and your ongoing asinine behavior, and you're like on level 1 and we're all, the rest of us, like on level 20 and shit, looking at your sorry ass fucking whining and shit, you're just backing yourself into a corner. And like I said it before and I'll say it again, like people, he who makes the world an unsafe place for others makes the world an unsafe place for himself. If you don't like the circumstances that you are creating for yourself, you should have respect towards others. It was 2025. The people were already on boats and went around and like shook hands and shit. Alright? We're aware that there's a global population now. Deal with it. Quit whining. So that's what I had to say about incels. And the gay and trans community, you know. There's just lines that cannot be crossed. Like, regardless of culture, there has been gay people this whole time. Like, the whole time that the human beings have been out doing their human thing, being human on this planet, developing as a species, there's been gay people this whole time. So quit trying to fight with that and understand that those people exist and get over it. Other than that, if we're going to be making societal changes, I do not think that those changes should be made abruptly. I think that decisions should be made on a basis of ration and reason and logic, and not just be made at the whims of somebody who appears to be suffering from dementia. I don't think that aristocrats are special. I don't think that aristocrats are great. And the problem is that American history is structured around aristocracy. That's what happened here. People try to get all rich, and then they try to create a situation where the rich people are the ones in control. But if you're a rich person, there's a good chance you're like socially fucking retarded and out of touch with the world and how things work. And when those kinds of people that have all the money shut out the opinions and the input from others, the ones that are actually there doing the work. All right, coming from a construction background, let me give you guys this example, okay? There was a apartment building that we were building, and it had like a 2-story main area that had a vaulted ceiling. So technically damn near like 3 stories. And in that vaulted ceiling there was a light. Like a regular house light, like a chandelier kind of thing, hanging over the stairs. This is actually kind of funny because we were on that job site, and it's like something had to be done to that light, and they had to, like, the way that they handled it with the ladder. I actually found the lady that is living there right now, ironically, because she made a video about the light. We had to put, we put a ladder across the stairs because they put it over the stairwell. We had to put a ladder across the stairs and lean up one of those standing ladders. It was a dangerous situation for the person that had to go up and maintenance that light, and we were all concerned about what was going to happen to, you know, in regards to people moving in if they ever try to fuck with that light. Okay, that's bad architecture. That's a dumbass making decisions that don't understand what it's like. Have you built a building before? Do you know what we have to do certain things? That's one of those things where the whole construction site is standing around looking at this problem that a dumbass made. If only that dumbass knew what it was like on the ground. And that's exactly what I'm talking about in a more understandable way. Like, aristocracy just makes a fucking dumbass, okay? Having people be stupidly rich, it just makes them stupid. And they don't make good leaders. It's just like, for me, as a woman, watching these men treat me like shit. Like, you think that I have somewhere to go to just be fine all of a sudden after you made all these problems for me? No, my survival is threatened. And that's why I've filed case with the EEOC. because I was working and some dude just threw a fit because he don't want a woman on the job, and it's like, I can't pay my fucking bills now. I don't have some magical fallback. It's like you guys think that we just have some sort of fucking magical life where we just like live under fucking mushrooms and come out at night with fucking glowing fucking wings and fly around and shit. That's not what it's like for a woman. Like, we have the same responsibilities. We have to survive out here. We have to have food in our stomachs and shit. And I'm sorry, but if the men are murdering the women, then obviously that's not a safe place to be in. Then if you're trying to force us into circumstances that are unsafe and trying to kill us, which is how I perceive it, then you will be met with resistance. These dudes be whining that women are like all skinny and have no muscles and shit. And it's like, I worked in construction for 10 years. I could beat a motherfucker's ass. So are women weak, or are you guys just forcing us into an environment that's unhealthy? And I don't think women like it. And you will be met with resistance. So then, again, as I said, there is a whole world here. All of us people know that each other's exist. Okay, we know about Africa. We know about South America. Okay, we got 2 different shades of brown. And then there's Europe. And then there's, like, all these other places. And stop fucking hating on each other because you sound like fucking idiots, alright? It's 2025. I found footage of Hillary Clinton doing the same fucking shit that Donald Trump's doing, being racist, trying to meet a political agenda. These people have learned to talk this way. They have learned that they have something to gain socially for themselves in engaging in hateful rhetoric. And the only thing that they're doing is they're making circumstances less functional and less safe for you so that they personally can get something. And we should not be playing into that game. Other than that, dude, like, yeah, have fun fucking defying the natural order, and I think that this should be the basis of how we structure our system of law. Things are the way they are. There are observable facts, okay? We discovered gravity quite some time ago. So for the people that think that we need to go back to 1776, that want to engage in things like bloodletting or whatever the fuck, there's ridiculous practices that happen because humans were still learning what was going on around them. Fucking barbarism, okay? We don't need to do that. Let's not fucking do that. Let's not be stupid. Because what you're doing is you're inviting your own destruction. You are creating a force against you that otherwise you could just be left the fuck alone and have fun, like out four-wheeling or whatever the fuck. Work on yourself. And stop being so distracted by these other groups and have some respect and realize that we're like all in this together and this is a country. It's not these people versus those people. Because the trajectory of where we're going is going to be dangerous for us all. Because this motherfucker's starting shit with foreign countries and stealing our money and using it all on weapons. On with the news. Contempt warning over deportations. A federal judge overnight threatened the administration with civil contempt for ignoring orders to pause certain deportation flights. The court specifically cited the forced removal of 100 Venezuelans to El Salvador under the Alien Enemies Act in defiance of a temporary restraining order. CFPB defunding challenge. Democratic state attorneys general filed a lawsuit to block what they describe as the complete defunding of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, arguing the administration's budget maneuvers bypass congressional authority and leave consumers vulnerable to predatory lending. This is right when they're trying to fucking cut interest rates and get people to take out more loans. They're taking away your consumer financial protections. Most likely because they're engaging in fraud and they want to steal all of your money. Southern Spear lethal force warning. In a public address, the president warned that land-based border operations would see an escalation, stating that those crossing illegally by land would get blown to pieces. This signals a potential pivot towards the same double-tap lethal strike logic currently under investigation in maritime operations. Homeland Defenders reporting the first wave of the new Homeland Defenders Force, a domestic recruitment surge within the Secret Service, and DHS officially reported for duty this week. Recruitment for these roles has surged 46% year over year, and the administration seeks to create a more loyalist federal security tier. The war.gov domain migration, in a symbolic move that rattled international watchdogs, the Pentagon officially began migrating several consumer-facing defense websites to a new war.gov domain. Officials describe it as clearer branding, while critics call it militaristic shift in the government's public-facing identity. I'm going to side more with that it looks like a militaristic shift. GenAI.mil, that is an AI website that the military is not supposed to be operating through. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced the launch of GenAI.mil, a portal making commercial large language models available to all 3 million military and civilian personnel. The move aims to institutionalize AI in everyday military bureaucracy, though critics worry about data security and algorithmic bias in command decisions. Erratic conduct reports. A Guardian report published this morning detailed erratic and at times confused behavior from the president during recent meetings, including instances of him reportedly drifting off topic to rant about windmills during high-level diplomatic talks with European leaders. The White House dismissed these reports as fake narratives intended to obscure his unmatched energy. This concludes today's U.S. News Report. I'm going to go now. Bye.
So the Olympics is great. And Johnny, for the others, the World Cup, Johnny is the head of it. We had our top people, Wasserman. They all came in on the Olympics, and then I saw Johnny. And we got the World Cup, too. And, it's only because they rigged the election that I'll be your president representing you there. I got both of them. I got the Olympics, and I got the World Cup. And I said, it's too bad. One was in 2026 and the other was in 2028. And I said, I won't be there. I won't be your president. But then they rigged the election and now we won. So I'm going to be your president for the Olympics and for the World Cup. So Johnny, thank you for the World Cup. And everybody, thank you for the Olympics. We're going to have a great time.
Hey guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment to my videos. And also, don't forget to check out my shop where you could get this awesome Real Patriots Punch Nazis t-shirt. America, fuck yeah! And if you go to the link tree in my bio on most platforms, it's got links to everything, all of my stuff. You can find my shop there. I'm on eBay. You can also get this cool Exterminate MAGA sticker, because MAGA's fucking cockroaches. And fuck MAGA, abolish MAGA, fuck you MAGA.